That's just a little lecture on how the F is computed. The first thing we do is compute something called sum of squares between and sum of squares within. That was captured in the lecture last week. We then find a divisor, something that we're going to divide these values by. And we have degrees of freedom between, which is simply the number of groups minus 1. K minus 1, so if there are 3 groups, the degrees of freedom between is going to be 2. Then we'll find degrees of freedom within, and that's the total number of participants in our study minus the number of groups, and we call this n minus k. We're then going to compute values called mean squares, and the mean square is, like a mean. We have a value, we divide by a number, we get a mean. The mean squares between is the sum of squares between divided by the degrees of freedom between. And the mean squares within is the sum of squares within divided by the degrees of freedom within. We want these two values. These two values are used to compute the F ratio. The F ratio has these degrees of freedom, k minus 1 comma n minus k. So if there are 3 groups and 30 participants, it would be something like k minus 1 is 3, 3 minus 1 is 2, 30 minus 3 is 27, so 227, and 2 plus 27 is 29. Our overall degrees of freedom would be n minus 1, or number of participants minus 1, so 2 plus 27 is 29. 29 plus 1 is 30. That's just one way you can check that you see if you have the right degrees of freedom. Is if you add up these two values, they should be 1 away from your total number of subjects. So again, to compute the F, you're going to divide the mean square between by the mean square within.